But,
my brother in Christ, how are you?
You know what, John? I tell you what, bro. So today we are going to discuss the running backs and linebackers in that order. Our top fives. I'm loving this content so far. And this is something that I do anyway. So to record it, put it on camera, and put it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, all that good stuff, Spreaker, and where else are we? We're on iHeartRadio and Google Music, all that stuff. But we're posting all that. Say it again.
Coming soon to OnlyFans.
OnlyFans as well. A whole mess of content.
Whole mess.
But no, seriously, we are very happy to discuss the linebackers and running back group. And I did a lot of film watching, a lot of studying to come up with these lists. It's going to be very hard for me on the linebackers. Running backs, you're not going to agree with everything. But I want you guys to comment your top five. If you think we're completely wrong on some of these things, tell me why. Engage with us. We really want to get topics from you guys. We really want to get the feedback so that we can shout you guys out, possibly bring some new guests on the show so that we can discuss these things as the draft is coming up, which is not too far from now. So
if your top five is different than ours, then you make a podcast and you tell us your top five. Idiots.
Or just comment below and we'll shout you
out.
Or
just comment below.
Either way, But I want to get started with running backs because I'm very, very excited about the linebackers. I want to save that for last, man.
Damn, I was excited for the linebackers. I wanted to knock it out first. But, yeah, man, go ahead.
Well, the running backs aren't so strong. They're not that sexy this year. It's not that exciting. The linebackers, though, if you need a linebacker this year, you're going to find one because it's so deep. I mean, we're supposed to do a top five. I got like 9 guys that I just – even to this point, I'm going to have to put them in order just because of the sake of the episode. But there's some guys that I think are on the same level, same tier that can give you some of the same impact. So I want to knock out running backs because they are a little bit more separatable, if that's a word. And I'll start off since you started off last episode. I'm going to go with number 5. This is going to be tough. But number 5, I'm going to go with Zamir White. And Zamir White is a traditional power back. He's got the speed. He ran a 4.40 on the 40-yard dash, which is awesome. He looked pretty good in the combine. He's got decent tape, but nothing really pops out on film to me. I don't know if you saw anything different, but his strength was really good. Obviously, he's able to break a lot of tackles, push for more and more yards. Honestly, between him and Hassan Haskins, those are the best power backs in the draft. However, we're in a league now where power backs are getting out of style, outside of Leonard Fournette, which, Brady loves a good power back in goal line situations. So, looking at Zamir White, great guy. I love how much of a team guy he is. I've seen him on interviews. Yes, I know he has a list. It doesn't really matter. But I've seen him on interviews, and he's talking about the right things, mature guy, and he wants to just go win wherever he can fit in. So, he's got really top-tier durability. That's due to the system that they had at Georgia between him and James Cook. They shared carries, so his stats aren't going to pop off as a great running back compared to some of these other guys in my top 5. But the fact that they did share snaps and he had that much of an impact was a great deal for me. So that is going to be my number 5 guy. Coming in at number 4, it's going to be Brian Robertson out of Alabama, 6'1", 225. The guy, out of 271 carries, he had 1,343 yards, 14 touchdowns, and it was low key. I think that a lot of his ascent came into the later half of the season, let alone the playoffs. And the playoffs is where I really paid in the SEC championship, but the playoffs is where I really paid a lot of attention to Brian Robinson because when it mattered most, he really stepped it up. He was consistent throughout the year, but the guy stands tall. He runs like a madman. And he's really got a lot of good NFL-type qualities about himself. He's not the fastest in the world, but between tackles, the guy's good. He knows how to fight for yards. Didn't do really well on the receiving side, but he's not that type of back. So what are your thoughts on Brian Robinson, bro?
Brian Robinson I like a lot for a lot of the reasons you stated, just because he's like the prototypical NFL back. He had a slow start to the season, but that was because the offensive line was kind of working through some things, kind of finding the right combination of guys to gel. Honestly, bro, I've said it for the night of the national championship game. I said it. If they ran him like 10 more times, because he was running great that night. If they ran him possibly 10 or so more times, they probably would have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. Bill O'Brien is Bill O'Brien. So
yep. Man, I knew what you guys were getting when he picked him up. Still a good offensive line, but I don't know. When it comes to championship football, there is a difference. So he's going to come in at number 4. I really like.
And then also another thing, just Alabama running backs in general, just they go to the NFL and they just produce because the system that they're in Alabama, there's really not a huge learning curve from Alabama to the pros at the running back position.
Yeah, 100%. They're pro ready. Outside of like the head cases of, and you know, I don't want to judge Trent Richardson and what he had going on. He had the NFL talent. I think he was supposed to be one of the better Bama backs of all time, but he had some head issues. He had some things going on. Look at Eddie Lacy. Could have been one of the best running backs, in my opinion, of all time with the skill set he had coming out. But again, outside of injuries, just the eating issue, the mental issue, I don't know what happened there. But back on topic, again, I've got at number 5, Zamir White. At number 4, I've got Brian Robinson. I do want to stop and give an honorable mention. He is not going to make my top 5. People might call me crazy, but Hassan Haskins out of Michigan is a tough running back. I love what I saw later in the season with him. He had really good stats throughout the season. They ran the ball a lot at Michigan, but he's not going to be in my top 5 simply because, you know, he's a great power back option, but most of his damage was only done in the goal line situations. If you look at any highlight tape he has, I guarantee 80% of those snaps are going to be within 10 yards of the goal line.
I don't put a whole lot of stock in Michigan backs anyway, just because it's on.
Yeah, and he doesn't have good breakaway speed. He ran a 4.58 in the 40, but he does have some hops. He hurdled like a couple of guys during the season, so that's always nice to see. But man, these last 3 were very, 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 very tough. I'm gonna go ahead and give an honorable mention to Breece Hall, which some people that's going to be their number 1 guy or their number 2. Breece Hall at Iowa State, he looked really good on film. He's got extremely good straightaway speed. He's probably the fastest. I didn't check his 40. Actually, I did. He ran a 4.39. The only back that I checked that was faster than him was actually Kenneth Walker in a 4.38. But 4.39, he's got very fast straightaway speed. He's a patient back, nasty spin move. He put up the stats, 253 carries for 1,472 yards, 20 rushing TDs, and 3 receiving TDs. Good back. But what worries me is his offensive line was so good over there at Iowa State. He still looks amazing on film and in the open field, and he can make a lot of moves. He's got, again, a good spin move, good juke. He's agile, but he was just hitting holes that were just wide open and just using his speed to get to the touchdown. That was a lot of his film. So I didn't want to really – I may be wrong about him. I hope the guy's good. I hope all these guys are good. I'm an ex-athlete. I hope they do well. But he's just not going to make my top 5 just because I didn't see what I saw in the other backs, which brings me to my number 3 pick, backs like James Cook, who had to be very, very creative. Why I like James Cook, he's a lot like his brother, where he can catch the ball out of the backfield and really create, and he can run routes as well. And so ran a 4.42 on the 40 time, on the 40-yard dash, which was amazing. And he had 4 receiving touchdowns, but he had a lot, almost 300 to 400 receiving yards. Going to his carries, he only had 114 carries, 728 yards, and again, splitting carries with Zamir White, 7 touchdowns, but he had 6.5 yards per carry. Like, serious work right there. And if you watch the film, the guy's electric. You think of Alvin Kamara when you look at him. You think of, Christian McCaffrey, those type of guys where he can run the ball out of the backfield. He can run it out of I form, single back, whatever you want. He can run it out of the shotgun. But what stuck out to me was his receiving ability, and that's what a lot of guys need, because right now the NFL is about the quarterback. I don't know if y'all know that, but receivers are good, running backs are good, but the NFL is a quarterback's game right now, and they're getting the most praise, which means that they're going to get the most offense. And James Cook, in my opinion, is an amazing option in a pass-first offense. I mean, imagine a guy like Tua, having James Cook as a running back. That would be amazing for what they're trying to do in Miami. So guy like him, he's at number 3. I got a lot of high praise for him. After doing some more film study, he may be my number 2. But coming in at number 2, this is going to be a surprise to a lot of people. And he is a little slow. Not as fast as some of these other guys, but Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M at number 2. I know it sounds crazy, but when you look at the production, out of 179 carries, he did 1,011 yards, rushing total, 6 TDs, 5.6 average on the yards per carry, and 1 receiving touchdown. The thing with him is that offense kind of holds back his stats. They're not a running offense by any means. Texas A&M has always aired it out since Johnny Manziel. So you have to look at these things when you're assessing running backs. Don't just look at the paper, but understand the teams, understand the film, how they run offense. But Isaiah Spiller, to me, at 6'1", 215 pounds, he looked really special on film. He looks really special out there. He abused Auburn like every other running back. But the guy can really do it all. He's really shifty. He's got great hands for a running back. He's got a nice juke move. And the only thing about it is, again, the slowness. He ran a 4.63 on the 40-yard dash, and it shows on film. He gets an open field, he gets caught. That's what sucks about it. But we've seen backs that are a little bit slower do very well in the NFL. Why? Because they only need to do a job to a certain capacity. Alvin Kamara is one of those guys. He doesn't have burners. He's not slow. Aaron Jones is one of those guys. He's not fast. He's going to get caught. But they do a lot of damage, and they play their game.
Yeah, all you got to do is keep the drive moving, bro.
That's really it.
Yeah, I do.
That's really it. But I think there's going to be a surprise to a lot of people that I have Isaiah Spiller above Hassan Haskins and Zamir White, all these guys. But he is my number 2. And then you already know who number 1 is. Kenneth Walker, without a doubt. Some people have him as their number 3. Some people have him as their number 2. Kenneth Walker, to me, without a doubt. Film, no film, stats, no stats. This guy reminds me of Adrian Peterson. He has a likeness of Adrian Peterson that is very high praise, I know. But almost similar. He's a little bit shorter. Almost similar style, running, style build. They're both very powerful. They're both very shifty. They can make people miss or they can run them over. You choose. And he's got that breakaway speed where he makes a move, and once his foot hits the ground and he digs, he's gone. He can accelerate extremely fast. I don't know how he does it at 210 pounds. 5'10" is crazy. But out of the 263 rushing attempts, he averaged 6.3 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 263 rushing attempts. And it wasn't that he had such a great offensive line. Look at the film. He had to create a lot of things at the line of scrimmage. 1,636 yards total, 18 rushing touchdowns his senior year, or his last year there, rather. 1 receiving touchdown. But he had the best tape out of all the running backs. I watched at least 11 different running backs. He had the best tape. Again, likeness of Adrian Peterson. Super shifty when his foot gets in the ground. He's a very balanced guy, too. Very, very balanced. But that is going to round out my top 5, man. Kenneth Walker, I can't wait to see where he goes. I pray it's not a place where they're going to waste his time, because you were texting me earlier making an extremely good point that I didn't even think about, which is that these running backs can be as good as you want them to be, but if they end up in the wrong place, it's not going to look good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's partly that kind of goes into my top 5. My top 5 is just like the running back, like their style of game. Because Isaiah Spiller, he's in my top 5 because he's a good receiving back, and like you said, the NFL is more of a passing league nowadays. so he can give you more out of the backfield than some of these other guys. So that's part of the reason he makes my top 5 over some of the other guys that I've watched. But that being said, getting into my top 5, Isaiah Spiller is my number 5.
Okay. I'm glad he's in there.
But like I said, it's just because what he gives you out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. Like you said, he's not super fast, but he is dangerous out of the backfield. He can get open. He has good hands. He can keep drives moving, especially I can't tell you how many times I've seen the NFL, 3rd and long, you just get him on like a block and release route and check it down out of the backfield. He's shifty enough. He's not fast, or he's not, breakaway speed or anything, but he's shifty enough to pick up first downs, keep the drive moving, that kind of stuff. But Isaiah Spiller is going to be my number 5. And then Brian Robinson will be my number 4, just because I just think Alabama puts running backs in the league who can do everything well. He might not catch it as well as some of Alabama's past running backs, but if he goes in the right system, like the Niners would be fantastic for him.
Oh, my God, yes.
But if he gets the right system, he can put up some Pro Bowl numbers, I think, just because he can pass and block. He's a good runner. He's powerful. He can hit the hole, fight for yards if he has to. And also, he just doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires because he just waited his time in Alabama, and this past year was his only year he started. Yeah. So he doesn't have the wear and tear on him that a lot of these other backs have, which in the NFL, especially running back, the less miles you have on you, the better off you're going to be because, a career before the NFL full of running the ball and getting hit, it's going to knock some time off that career over time.
Outside of Derrick Henry, because he's just a beast.
People were like, "Oh, Derrick Henry, he ran the ball so much at Alabama, he's going to break down in the NFL." Shouldn't me.
He was hurt this last season, but that was a legitimate injury. It had nothing to do with him being fatigued or anything. So
But Derrick Henry, whenever he runs, he leaves a trench in the ground for where his penis drags. But James Cook and Zamir White are going to be interchangeable at 2 and 3, just because they give you different things. One like Zamir White would be another good one for the Niners. He's the power back. He's the ones that fight for yards under center, I form. He's your guy. James Cook, he's in my top 5. It's kind of like Isaiah Spiller, but with the burners who can take it for 6.
Exactly.
They're very similar players, receiving backs, can do it all out of the backfield, but James Cook can just do a little bit more as far as his speed goes. He actually burned Alabama for a 60-something yard touchdown run in the championship, which was disheartening because their offense had all we had to do is keep them bottled up because their offense
had nothing going for them. Yeah.
Their offense was just kind of stagnant all night, and we just got to not let them pop a big play. And sure enough,
bro, James Cook. I have him at 3, but I sincerely think out of all these guys, if he lands in the right spot, he's going to outperform all these running backs. Just because he's so good at receiving the ball.
If he can go to a spot where they utilize the running back in the pass game, he will probably be the best running back in this class.
Man, I'm telling you, stat-wise,
But that being said, you can interchange them at 2 or 3. They're kind of right there neck and neck, just depending on what system they go into. And then number 1, obviously, Kenneth Walker, for a lot of the reasons you stated. I think against Michigan, he went nuts. And Michigan, Michigan has hung their hat on their defense for as long as I can remember.
And they had a Heisman contender in Aiden Hutchinson. So,
bro, Kenneth Walker had Michigan
by the hips.
Do you know how weird it is to lose a game in this day and age to a running back like almost solely.
Literally.
It was a shootout. Like it was like 40 points, like 42 to 45, something like that. It was.
I remember watching that game.
A game. Yeah. It was in the 40s, and the main culprit was a running back. Typically, in a shootout, it's the quarterback's airing it out, going back and forth. It was a running back just giving you all he had, and you couldn't do anything about it.
Nope.
You know it's coming, and he's still like, yeah.
And the funny thing is, Hassan was on the other side of that. He was doing well that game as well. But it was clear to me who was the better guy that day. I mean, I don't want to cut into your explanation of Kenneth Walker, but I promise you, looking at his film gets me very excited about him in the NFL. Like, I mean, it's almost if like teams like the Steelers who would just run traditional football. Like, I wish he would end up there, but Najee's already there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know where he's going to land or who needs him. I don't think he'll go lottery because a lot of those teams don't need a running back right now as bad as they need other positions, I'll say. But I pray he ends up in the right place, bro.
Yeah, if you take a running back top 5, you are stupid in this day and age because running backs are really a dime a dozen. The guys that we listed, they're all like neck and neck. There's really not a running back that's like head and shoulders. There's not a running back that's worth a top 10 pick to me.
Yeah.
Just because it's not a running back league anymore.
I agree.
But I think the last running back that went top 5 was Saquon, and how's that working out for them?
Well, they didn't know he was going to be this non-durable. I mean, if Saquon, rookie year and healthy, kept doing exactly what he did, it's worth it, right? But him being hurt didn't help anything.
Bro, I cracked my damn funny bone earlier, and that shit still fucking hurts.
So how good are you to draft? But anyway, so I want you to hit up the linebackers, and now I'll round my 5 out. I did that on purpose. I ain't gonna lie. I did not want to go first on linebackers. It is so tough, bro. Still to this moment. I'm gonna hear you out. See what you got.
It's really not.
Hey, man. Yeah, just go ahead. Let me see what you
the trick is don't watch a lot of film. Just watch 5 and then rank those 5. That's what I did. I'm a piece of shit.
Okay, so before you get into that, I'm going to do some honorable mentions. All right. I don't know if you know who Troy Anderson is. He's 6'4", 235 pounds out of Montana State. Bro, he played quarterback. He played running back. He played linebacker. This kid,
Montana State,
he showed out at the combine, bro.
Really?
He ran a 4.42 on the 40, and it shows on tape. He burns. Like that's why he played exactly, bro. I'm gonna send you some tape because at running back he was burning people. Like, and I know
it's running back at Montana State.
It's Montana State, but they played some pretty good teams.
He played both ways at Montana State.
Yeah,
that's hard
in college. Like, bro, I'm gonna send you his film. This and white guy, craziest athlete that I watched. He is so athletic that it's scary. And 6'4", bro, like you're gonna want him on Madden no matter where he ends up. 6'4", running a 4.42.
The last person I remember that played both ways in college was Miles Jack. Miles Jack, running back, has some game. Yes. He was a problem.
This guy is the same. I'm telling you. And he doesn't have a great stat line of linebackers simply because he played multiple positions throughout the season. But he's a raw prospect, but he's a jack of all trades. Like, you see him intercepting the ball. You see him tracking down people. He's very physical. He's not afraid to hit. Like, this guy is crazy, bro. It's an honorable mention. I couldn't put him in my top 5 simply because he's just not committed to the linebacker position. He ran with the linebackers for the combine. He clearly wants to be that. But even sending him in as a blitzer with that speed, I'm going to shoot you his film. I watched like 3 or 4 different tapes just because I was just addicted to his tape, bro. That guy's crazy athletic. And he looks good. And if he gets coached up in the right place, that guy is going to be dangerous. And he's the tallest linebacker on my list outside of Quay Walker. So I want to go ahead and give him an honorable mention. And this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for this. Nakobe Dean is not going to make my top 5. But shout out to Kobe Dean. He plays a little bit. I want to say a little bit like Devin Bush, but he's really just the same height, kind of 5'11", 229 pounds out of Georgia. He has 72 total tackles, 36 that were solo, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. He's got really good tape, not going to lie. Probably the best pass rushing linebacker in the draft, but that's why he's not going to make my top 5. Right, he's probably one of them. But he got great bend on his rush. He can play zones pretty well. Only negative is his height, really. But he plays angry. Really good guy. I think he's going to do well in the NFL, but I don't think he'll do any better than the guy. I forgot his name. The guy out of Georgia. He got drafted to. He played for the Rams for a while.
Leonard Floyd.
Who he reminds me a lot of Leonard Floyd, where he looks good, but you kind of don't have that much confidence in him. Well, Leonard Floyd, he's obviously in the NFL for a reason. He's a great athlete. But it just – I feel like Nakobe Dean he's showed us his best football. Like, he's not going to get better when he gets in the NFL. I could be completely wrong. This is why we do a podcast. This is why we do a top 5. But that is my honorable mention, Nakobe Dean and Troy Anderson. But, Troy Anderson. Anyway, go ahead, man.
Yeah, bro. Top 5. I got Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma.
Okay.
Just because I like my linebackers. I like my linebackers to be fast. I like my linebackers to make plays, and he does that. All the linebackers on my list are versatile. I don't have any like run stuffing guys. I don't have any strictly pass coverage guys. I got guys who are going to be versatile. Yeah. Because in the NFL, it's a versatile game now. You have to be able to do everything, especially a linebacker. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's the tape I saw. He's good in coverage. He's good off the blitz. He can get around. When he loops around, tackles have issues with him just because he's so fast. And that's why he's making my top 5. And then Chad Muma from Wyoming. White boys make some noise.
Bro, my dog. Thank you. Yes.
Bro, Chad Muma
can ball.
Bro, he's got some game.
Yes.
He got ball skills, instincts.
I'm so glad you said that, bro. Because usually guys from Wyoming you don't respect, but his film.
I usually don't, bro. I don't respect him.
Yeah.
But yeah, his film, he's got good ball skills. He can tackle. He's got a nose for the football. He sifts through blocks. I saw several plays where he's just kind of in the pile and shifts through it and makes the play. So
bro, he's by far on everybody I looked at. He's got almost double for most of these guys. Double solo tackles, 85 solo tackles. Mm-hmm. Out of 142. That's crazy. But go ahead.
I think the profile I saw on him, his dad played safety at Wyoming. So I think that's what I saw on him. But and then Nakobe Dean is going to be my number 3, just because it's Nakobe Dean. He's fast, instincts, but he's only my number 3 because I don't know how much being on that Georgia defense helped him out.
And that's go ahead. I'm gonna come back around.
You got Jordan Davis, Quay Walker, the other guy that we talked about earlier. I forgot his name again. Number 41 for Georgia. And then you got the secondary. Also, I don't think their secondary was really as elite this year. No. It's a Kirby Smart defense. So you have a lot of moving parts around you to help you make your job easier. Yeah. So I don't know how much being at Georgia kind of masked some of his inefficiencies, but he's played well. I'm not going to take that away from him, but he's my number 3. I think if he goes to the right system, he can be a problem just with his athleticism and his instincts.
Yeah.
And then good. Christian Harris is my number 2. I'm biased to a flaw.
He is not the number 2 linebacker at all. But go ahead.
Christian Harris makes my heart sing and my penis rise. But he just hits, man.
In a non-sexual way, right?
Right, in a non-sexual way. But his instincts on the blitz, he hits hard. Runs a 4-4. So
Yes.
Runs a 4-4 at linebacker. That in the run game to be able to shoot the gap, make the play. He's a good tackler. In pass defense, sometimes he gets a little lost.
Yep.
But then again, running. Also, I don't know. The first half of the season, Pete Golding just wasn't calling his best games. So I'm not sure what all that was like on Christian Harris and what all of that was by design and just bad play call. But yeah, he's going to be my number 2 just because of his athleticism and his ability to stop just in the run game and just hitting in general. And then obviously number 1 is going to be Devin Lloyd because he's big.
Yeah. That's
a
the scouting report. He's big.
Yeah, he's big. Yeah, just like I said, all these guys are versatile, can make plays in the run game and the pass game. Devin Lloyd has phenomenal ball skills. He's like a safety at linebacker. And he reminds me a little bit of Isaiah Simmons, just with his versatility and speed. He can play in the box, but still cover like a safety would.
That's a great comparison.
But if he gets in the right system, they use him in the right way, I think he could be a big issue.
He's also extremely physical.
Mm-hmm.
Very physical.
That's what I like in my men. I mean, my linebackers. I like my linebackers to be physical. But that rounds up my top 5, man. That's we're all finished here.
That's a good top 5. So Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean. Well, you said Devin Lloyd, Christian Harris, Nakobe Dean. You went with Chad Muma, and who was your number 5?
Brian Asamoah.
Yes, and I tried with Brian. His tape just wasn't enough for me. I don't know. Kenneth Murray coming out of Oklahoma, knowing their system on defense, the linebackers are supposed to shine, and he looked to me half as good as Kenneth Murray did when he was coming out of Oklahoma. So that's how I kind of graded his film. It's not fair to him, but compared to these other linebackers, I've said it for a month now on this podcast. This is a heavy linebacker class. So there's no way we're going to have the same top 5. To be honest with you, this is going to be tough. But Christian Harris he's interchangeable between 5 and 6. I'll say that. Between him and Quay Walker. So I'll go ahead and talk about Christian Harris, 6'1", 226 pounds out of Bama, 79 total tackles, 45 solo, 5.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Great stats. Who's the other middle linebacker for you guys? The Hawaiian guy.
Henry Toto.
Amazing. In my opinion, he doesn't get enough credit, but because of how he plays, it's the Bobby Wagner effect. Because of how well he plays, other people can shine. You know what I mean? He plays so smart. Not to say that Christian Harris isn't smart, but what I saw on film, the number one thing I'm looking for in a linebacker is kind of the opposite of you, where the versatility is great, which is why I have my number 1 at the number 1 spot. Versatility is amazing, but I need to see you stop the run. That's what I need to see on film. It's not that Christian Harris didn't stop the run, but he's usually not the first person on the ball. That's why I might have him at number 6, because in a lot of run defenses, and he slides in the right areas. He takes good angles, but he kind of waits on the running back or waits on the play to come to him rather than going to it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Where a lot of these linebackers, they're going to meet the play or disrupt it. Christian's using his eyes. He's moving and shuffling his feet, but he's waiting for the play to meet him. And that's what I didn't like to see on film. I have a different set of eyes. I know you're a Bama fan, and you said you're trying not to be biased, but there's no way Christian Harris is going to make number two.
I'm not trying not to be biased. I'm biased.
Yeah, you're biased. So
it's my podcast. All right. I have to be biased on my podcast.
Amen to that, brother. That's why we do this. But Christian Harris, to me, I don't see him doing that well in the NFL, but I see him staying in the NFL for a good amount of time. Does that make sense?
He reminds me of Rashaan Evans.
Exactly. Where he plays good football, but he's never going to be a huge impact player. And that's why I have him right at number 6. Quay Walker, to me, is at number 5 because Quay Walker has, in my opinion, some of the most potential in this draft in terms of what he can become. And we see a lot of these guys. Who's that 6'4" guy that was at the Giants for a while? Walker, what was his name? It wasn't Walker. It was
Lorenzo Carter,
who he still plays well. He does well, but he's got more potential than he'll probably fill out. To me, Quay in that system is, like you said, Georgia, you made a very good point with Nakobe Dean and Tyndall, where Georgia had a lot of guys that are probably 3 of their guys on defense alone are going to go first round. That's how good their defense was, right? Uh-huh. Where I saw Nakobe Dean, he was more used as an outside linebacker / rushing linebacker, which is why I bragged on his bend when he's rushing the passer. He's got really good hands. But a lot of his stuff, which is why a lot of guys like the Oklahoma guy and some of these other guys I'm not going to mention, I don't have them on my list because they were free rushers. Kind of like TJ Watt, where they might run into a lineman here and there, but they're already so into their speed that the lineman's not going to be able to catch them. So you can't look at them as a pass rusher or traditional linebacker. So it's like, well, what are they really? And so looking at Quay Walker, I saw him do a lot more, in my opinion, on film that related to the NFL than I did Nakobe Dean. Not just picking on him because of his height, but Quay Walker's 6'4", 240 pounds, has 63 total tackles, 39 solo. On that defense, it's going to be hard to get a lot of tackles on your own. But at a 6'4" height, he ran a 4.5 240. And he's just a natural outside linebacker who, you can put his hands in the dirt if you need him. He can rush the passer. He can back off. His zone coverage is going to need a little bit of work. But I just feel like on a star-studded defense, it didn't tell the whole story with the stats of what Quay Walker can really do. But him on the Colts, for example, on the side of Darius Leonard, if Darius is going to play the mic and Quay plays a wheel, for example, he is going to absolutely shine. We've seen what happened with I forgot his first name, but his American name is Jason Oweh over there in Baltimore, where he reminds me of Jason Oweh, where he can kind of do a lot. He can rush the passer, and he can drop in coverage. He can cover a running back, all that good stuff. So he's just got a lot of things about himself that I like. A lot of potential. And again, out of my top 5, he probably has some of the most potential outside of Devin Lloyd to be a star in the NFL. So he's going to come in at number 5. At number 4, I've got Brandon Smith out of Penn State. Yes, sir. It's some game right there.
I was just about to say, I might need to revise my top 5 because I think I like Brandon Smith more than an old boy from Oklahoma. Because he'll lay some wood.
I mean, if you're 6'3", 241 pounds, you're gonna lay some type of wood, bro. And he runs a 4.52, which is amazing at that height. He's a great blitzer. 81 total tackles, not a lot, but they're in a conference where the ball is passed a lot. Okay, so boo-hoo. But 45 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. Not crazy. It's a very raw prospect, but he's got great athleticism, and in my opinion, with the right coaching, he could be an absolute beast. He comes from the same program as Jason Oweh, so I guess that was a great segue. But Brandon Smith to me looks really, really good on film, bro. Yeah. Really good. That's why I didn't even give the Oklahoma guy a chance because it just doesn't compare on tape to these other guys. So that's going to come in at number 4. and we're going to get to these next three. So I know that you do not like Wisconsin, but Leo Chanel out of Wisconsin looks good. He's going to come in at number 3 for a lot of reasons. He's got a physical presence. You remember when we were talking about Trevor Penning?
No, man, go ahead.
You remember when we were talking about Trevor Penning, right? About his physical dominance and just that mentality that he has. That's this guy on defense at linebacker. If you look at his film, his physical presence, he wants to let offenses know that he's there and he's there to hurt people. Not in an illegal way, but he just plays really good football. He seems kind of stiff at times, you know, when it comes to lateral movement and stuff in the zone and in pass.
It's not his fault. He's just white.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but, you know, he seems kind of stiff at times, but he's got really good hands, and he's got a solid bull rush. And I don't mean hands as in catching. I mean as in getting his offensive lineman's hands out of him, and he uses a lot of his strength.
I didn't say that shit.
Okay.
I think that's a flag, bro.
When I say good hands, I don't mean catching. I mean he's good at getting the lineman's hands like off of him in the pass rush.
Okay.
You know, swim moves and stuff like that. Some of the stuff you see Aaron Donald do.
Gotcha. Thanks for clearing that up, Professor.
It's late, man. It's late. So, yeah, getting the lineman's hands off of him in a pass rush. He's really good, really quick. He's got a solid bull rush. Uses a lot of his strength and athleticism in a pass rush. But what I love so much about him is 2 things. Number 1, he's got great closing speed. Better than most linebackers that you see nowadays. And because of that closing speed, brings me to number 2, he's always on the ball. That's what I love to see about linebackers. That's why you're on the field, in my opinion, outside of DBs and, you know, defensive tackles, all that stuff. When a middle linebacker and an outside linebacker is just always on the ball, that's a good sign to me, right? That's a guy that can cover the field east to west. That's a guy who's hungry. He's got a high motor. And that's why Leo Chanel is going to make my number 3. At number 2, guess who? Chad Muma out of Wyoming, 6'3", 242 pounds. I mean, if you haven't seen his tape, folks, just stop this video, go watch it, and come back and thank me for sending you to that. But again, 142 total tackles, 85 solo, which is mind-blowing. And in Wyoming, they didn't send him in. Obviously, at middle linebacker, they didn't send him in too much to rush the passer, but he had a 1.5 sacks, which I think is inaccurate. After looking at his film, and 3 interceptions, which I think leaves most of the linebackers outside of Devin Lloyd. Yeah, Devin Lloyd had 4 interceptions. So really good hands, very incredible, in my opinion, incredible instincts. He's got great eyes and chooses really good angles, which is what you want to see in linebackers. But out of all things, the athleticism, everything, he seems like a coachable dude. Chad Muma, to me, reminds me of Luke Kuechly. Like, if you put...
You saw pick 6 on his tape, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I was watching his film, like, if you put him in a Panthers jersey, I would think that was Luke Kuechly this whole time. That's how much he plays like Luke Kuechly, who's one of the smartest in our era, I'll say, one of the smartest, most productive, and high motor linebackers we've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that. Literally, there are people who came out about him calling out their plays. Like Andrew Whitworth talks a little bit about that, about him calling out like 45% of the plays as they were audible, which is crazy. And Chad Muma seems like that type of guy. He's going to bless whatever team he goes to. And that's going to bring me to number 1, who's also going to bless wherever he goes. I don't care what scheme they have. Devin Lloyd, bro. His film doesn't make sense. He's picking off interceptions at the line of scrimmage, bro. That's different. His eyes are all up. And I'm surprised he only ran a 4.6 at the combine, because he looks very fast on film, and we know that can be a little confusing at times. Where guys in the game, I don't know what it is, but sometimes they're a little bit faster there. But 111 total tackles, 66 total tackles, 8 sacks, which is crazy. Yeah, 8 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 interceptions. But a physical beast, man. Very smart player with really good instincts. He's got one of the highest motors in the draft outside of my number 1 through 3. They all have extremely high motors. He's got amazing pursuit, really good angles. And to me, like I said, Chad Muma reminds me of Luke Kuechly, but Devin Lloyd reminds me of Patrick Willis, who is another great ex-NFL linebacker, who Willis was just so, yes, he was good at playing the position. Yes, he was smart, but he was so athletic, he could do anything on the field. He can cover tight ends. He can cover even receivers at times if he needs to. He can blitz. He can stop the run, stuff the run. And he's got the jumping ability. I mean, there's nothing negative that I have about Devin Lloyd. And I can 100% behind I could put money behind it. He's going to do well in the NFL. At 6'3", 237 pounds, man. This guy's going to be a beast. So very happy with my top 5 again to round it out. I had at number 5, Quay Walker. At number 4, I had Brandon Smith. Number 3, Leo Chanel. Number 2, Chad Muma. And number 1, Devin Lloyd. So that is going to be my top 5 in linebackers. We've kind of got a similar top 5, just in a different couple of places. And I love what I heard on the running back side. I'm very excited for the draft, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. We love you guys. Really appreciate it.
Thumbs up for you.
You know, if if there's some content that you guys want to see, any questions y'all have, man, just shoot it in the comment section. We're glad to, engage with you guys. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate the support. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on the podcast app on Apple. You can find us on Spotify as well as Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Music. We're posting on all those platforms consistently about twice a week on Tuesday and Friday. So look for us there. We've also got bonus episodes, and we like to engage with our audience on Facebook as well as Instagram. On Instagram, you can find us at Trickster Pod, and on Facebook, we have Trickster Podcast page. So search for us there. You'll be able to find us. We will admit you to the community. Really appreciate the feedback, the comments, whatever you guys got, topics for us, questions for us. We're ready to answer those. So check us out.